In the sprawling Persian Empire, ruled by King Xerxes, a momentous story began to unfold. King Xerxes, known for his grand feasts and displays of wealth, decided to host a lavish banquet for nobles and officials from across the empire. At the height of the celebration, he commanded Queen Vashti to appear before the guests to showcase her beauty. However, Vashti refused, and in a fit of anger, the king stripped her of her title and decreed she would no longer be queen. In the wake of this decision, Xerxes sought a new queen, and a search began across the empire for the most beautiful women to join his harem. Among them was Esther, a young Jewish woman being raised by her cousin Mordecai after the death of her parents. Esther, though an orphan, was graceful, kind, and strikingly beautiful. Mordecai advised her to keep her Jewish heritage a secret for her safety, and she complied. Esther quickly gained favor in the palace, particularly with Haggai, the eunuch in charge of the women. After months of preparation, Esther was brought before King Xerxes, and he was so taken with her beauty and demeanor that he placed the royal crown on her head, declaring her Queen of Persia. Despite her elevated position, Esther remained humble and close to Mordecai, who often sat near the palace gates. One day, while at the gates, Mordecai overheard two palace guards plotting to assassinate the king. Mordecai immediately informed Esther, who relayed the warning to Xerxes, crediting Mordecai for the discovery. The plot was thwarted, and the king's life was saved, but Mordecai's heroic act was not rewarded at that time. Meanwhile, trouble loomed in the form of Haman, a powerful and prideful official in Xerxes' court. Haman demanded that everyone bow before him, but Mordecai, a devout Jew, refused to bow to anyone but God. Haman's fury grew, and he devised a plan not just to punish Mordecai but to annihilate all the Jewish people in the empire. Haman manipulated Xerxes into signing a decree allowing the destruction of the Jews, falsely claiming they were a threat to the kingdom. When Mordecai learned of the decree, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned publicly. He sent word to Esther, urging her to intervene with the king. At first, Esther hesitated, knowing that approaching the king uninvited could result in her death. However, Mordecai's words struck a chord. "Who knows if you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Strengthened by these words, Esther resolved to act. She instructed Mordecai to gather all the Jews in Susa to fast and pray for 3 days, while she and her attendants did the same. At the end of the fast, Esther approached the king, her heart heavy but filled with faith. To her relief, Xerxes extended his golden scepter, sparing her life. She invited the king and Haman to a banquet, where she planned to reveal her request. At the first banquet, the king asked what she desired, but Esther, seeking the right moment, invited them to a second banquet the next day. That night, Xerxes couldn't sleep and had the royal chronicles read to him. He was reminded of Mordecai's earlier act of saving his life. Realizing Mordecai had never been rewarded, the king asked Haman how he should honor a great man. Believing the king was referring to him, Haman suggested a lavish public parade. To his horror, Xerxes commanded Haman to honor Mordecai in this way. At the second banquet, Esther revealed her true identity as a Jew and exposed Haman's plot against her people. The king, enraged, stormed out into the garden. When he returned, he found Haman pleading with Esther for his life, but it appeared to the king that Haman was assaulting her. Xerxes ordered Haman to be executed on the very gallows he had built for Mordecai. The king then issued a new decree allowing the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. On the appointed day, the Jews stood united and triumphed over those who sought to harm them. Mordecai was elevated to a position of great authority in the kingdom, and Esther continued to use her influence to protect her people. The Jewish community celebrated their deliverance with joy and gratitude, establishing the festival of Purim to remember how God worked through Esther to save them. Esther's courage, faith, and willingness to risk her life changed the course of history, proving that one person's bravery can make a difference.